post-conference presser for Anfield Index. What a week it's been. What a week it could be as well, ladies and gents. If you think we've just beaten Chelsea, we've just literally beaten Red Bull. The guys stay behind for another day and have a trip to the zoo by the looks of it as well, don't they? And now it's a massive game against Arsenal coming up in the very near future. Super Sunday from the Emirates. And we will all be watching, won't we? Some of us might even be there. So all the best wishes to the travelling cot. But now we're here to talk about post-conference presser. So I'm your normal host, ladies and gents, Dave Davis, coming to you from a freaking miserable just outside of Edinburgh. Let's put it that way. Ready to run you through the normal stuff. So what will that be? It'll be the questions and answers that Arne gave. Well, the questions he was asked, I should say, the answers that he gave. We'll talk through the normal clues or the hint, shall we say, from the Red Bull lineup, what we took away from that. Maybe even dabble a bit to Chelsea because they've just been so close together, haven't they? We'll talk about the threats that Arsenal bring, and make no mistake, this will be a very difficult game, however you phrase it. And then I'll give my normal predicted lineup, score and scorers. Been all right, to be fair. If you look at the last sort of 5 I've judged in a row, I've got 3 out of 5. So I'll take that, ladies and gents. Not bad at all. Let's hope. Well, we'll see my prediction and whether you agree with it or hope it's right or not. But let's get into it. What did Arne answer when he was asked questions? Now, video Connor up as normal. The first one from Sky Sports, and he asked about team news. And he reeled them off, ladies and gents. He literally went sort of Jota, Chiesa, Conor Bradley. And he kind of answered it as a group, but then separated Arne Slot. So what did he say? He said, they're feeling good, but not when it comes to playing with us this weekend. Chiesa might train with us today or tomorrow. Jota, definitely not. And Conor Bradley, let's see if he can be with us tomorrow. So I know it's easy to just label it as bad injury news, but if we're absolutely truthful, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world because no one was expecting any of them to be back. However, it sounds like Chiesa is right on the verge of first team training, so that's a real positive. Jota's the unknown, and obviously we know how a Jota injury and even a bruised rib can take. So, yeah, hard to sort of label that one. And Conor Bradley, let's see, as he said, as Arne Slot said, let's see if he can make it with us today. Maybe quite close. There maybe is some positive news. So even if it's not, and it's not going to be, Arsenal, maybe, just maybe, we'll see what happens for the Brighton double header coming. So decent, I'd say, injury news. Not all bad in personal opinion. He was then asked about Arsenal being his biggest challenge he's faced so far. An understandable question. He said, well, I've said it before, and I said it after the game against Chelsea, that I expected a lot from Chelsea this season. They are a similar team to Arsenal as a playing style. They like to go with a full-back inside and come into the same formation. If you look, though, at the last 2 seasons, Arsenal are far ahead of us. So assume we're playing Arsenal, it should be far more difficult. Normally would expect that, and it's a away game, so even more difficult than Chelsea at home. And we saw how difficult a fixture that was. Interesting, isn't he? Always gives us just that little sort of tidbit of his views or tactics, a little bit of insight. So the way you said that, the fullback that comes inside, and they do like to play that a similar way. You've seen it with Timber quite a bit this season when he's played. Biggest challenge? Yeah, I think you can. We've got some great ones under the belt so far, haven't we? The San Siro, it's always a good place to win. Let's not debate that at all. Chelsea at home, that was difficult, but at home with the crowd probably helped us nudge over the line. Nothing wrong with that at all. So, yeah, I think it's fair to say this is the most difficult challenge, but let's see. And that probably follows up with the final question he was asked by Billy O'Connor about the impact of trying to get all 3 points. He said, well, we all know that taking points from competitors is great, but no one knows at this early stage who is going to be our biggest competitor. But as we know, Arsenal will likely be one of them. So dropping points or winning points against them is always important. So if Liverpool could have won all 3 of those games in the league table, last season he was referring to, would have looked very different. But winning away legs, but he called it legs, against Arsenal, City or other ones are difficult, but we try. Yeah, we know they're gonna try big time. You know, there's no debates about that. And it's a weird one because probably a lot of people are feeling more confident than ever about going to the Emirates, and obviously Saliba and other things like that. Saka's going to be fit. Let's not pretend for one second Saka's going to be out. He's going to be fit and available. But with the players there, likely, let's say that, to have missing, it might seem the greatest chance. It's not been a great start to the season for Arsenal as well. Love a red card, don't they, at the moment? That's been quite fun at the same time as well. But it is the biggest challenge. And dreaming a little bit here, it's not, it's hopeful, but the impact all 3 points would have, utterly erotic that would be. But let's see. He was then asked about excitement in big games, and he says, and I like this answer, in the life of a manager, yeah, because he gave a detail, just make sure I read the right one. In the life of a manager, the excitement is for 10 to 15 minutes after the game. You then start to think about what to say to the players when you go into the dressing room. Then you start to think about the press conference. So the excitement is just for that 10 to 15 minute period after. It's a nice fixture to be in, and there's so many nice fixtures to be in, as he was talking about his excitement for the big games. Love that as well, because it's not always, sometimes you hear that sort of in-depth thoughts or how his thought process or any manager works, but I do like it, to be honest. It's that thought of already there's 10, 15 minutes when he's on the pitch, and he's not fist pumping like Jurgen used to be, but you can tell he's, speaking to players already, enjoying bits, but it is just a short period, 10, 15 minutes, isn't it? And then all of a sudden, into the next one. So there would have been some sweet sense of success, wouldn't there, after the Leipzig victory? 3 out of 3, 9 points in Europe, just behind Villa, top of the table. But already, because that's the obsessional nature of the game, onto Arsenal with the next one. Love it. Brill. So there's that one. He was then also asked about, and a few others that are worth calling out. He was asked about the records being broken, because we all know about 6 away wins in a row. We also know 11 out of 12 and things like that. He said, not if I start the season. I don't have those targets in mind about how many points I have after a certain amount of games. It's the joy for me you have after a game. As I said, 10 to 15 minutes, and I think that's the way I look at the fixture list. So it's always the next one and not looking too far ahead. The only thing you want is a team to play the best possible way, and for me to prepare the team in the best possible way. You have your training sessions and your team meetings. I'm not so much into how many points we've got at this stage, etc. We're just trying to improve every single day. That's what we're trying now, and that's what's needed as teams around us do the same. I really like that, to be honest, ladies and gents. I think it's perfect. It's not about, there's no talking about where we are, it's a game at a time. Nothing is won, as he's alluded to, in October. It's a brilliant start. Let's not undersell that for 1 second. 6 away wins in a row, brilliant. 11 out of 12 victories, it's brilliant. And still, he loves bringing up that Nottingham Forest. You still almost, I love about that game. It sticks in the craw, but it still comes up. So absolutely love it in that regard. But yeah, we'll see. Because he's asked a little bit more about records and things, so we won't go into that. He was also asked a couple of things I want to pull out that he was asked and talked about. Travel and disrupted training, because this is where you think, oh, someone's going to clip this and use it as an excuse and all those types of things. So this is an interesting one. He said, yeah, but that's part of our lives and what players are used to if they play Champions League. They know there's challenges there and they know what to do and how to take care of their body and prepare themselves in the best possible way. For this game, we had 3 games in between, so there's more than the Leipzig and the Brighton game. Unfortunately, we have 1 day less in recovery than those teams that we faced, but that's part of the season and part of our lives. It's helpful that we've got a fantastic staff to be in the best possible shape, and it's my job to prepare the team in the best possible way. He answers that really well, because that was the question where it's almost, they've set the trap and it's waiting to be sort of snaffled, isn't it? Or trying to get on this, or clip it up in terms of, here's Slot complaining about lack of recovery and all this. No, just answered it honestly, said that's the nature of the job. It's just the way it falls. Our job is to prepare them in the best possible way. And the only other one I'm really going to call out, ladies and gents, is he got asked, which is a good question because we should just keep checking in. Allison said he's progressing well, like we expect, but it's not a short-term recovery. It's always difficult to judge him. He's not at the end stage of his recovery, and I'm not sure how long he'll be out, but I don't expect him to be against Brighton in the next 2 games. Which, if you think that's the midweek coming up after Arsenal and then the league return, isn't it? So we're just moving into November. So he's definitely not going to be back by November the 2nd, that Brighton game, which I don't think is what anyone expected, unless I'm wrong. I've got to be honest on that one. All the suggestions were that it would probably be the November international break, maybe just the other side of that. So, yeah, let's just hope, as it's been progressing well, that is the target date. So, injury news, you may take it a different ways, but ultimately, did really enjoy what Arne Slot said and how he answered that. Which makes us turn to the last game and the lessons we learned. I mean, an away victory at Leipzig is always good. A clean sheet is always good. 1-0, Darwin Núñez getting on the score sheet. A lot to like about this. I think the key lessons that you take away from that game are, aside from the first, almost bookends, I call it, the first 15 minutes and a little bit towards the end, but not the actual end, we did control the game. The first 15 minutes, we couldn't seem to control it or just pass to each other, but we really sort of warmed up quickly from there. And when I say the end, towards the end, they did come back into it. And again, we just got a bit sloppy. Maybe the changes played into that. But if you think about the injury time specifically, we managed that really well. And he did allude to that in the press conference. So much to like from defensive elements. I mean, the 2 centre halves, Ibu and Virgil, unbelievable again. Just absolute man mountains that way. So fair play to them. Gravenberch, the amount of interceptions, blocks, almost those long. They're almost like, if you get the reference, Jimmy Traore legs, aren't they? The way they kind of intercept, the way they just nick the ball almost so often. That was great. So, brilliant play there. Gakpo worked hard. It's great for Núñez to get on the score sheet. And it's great for Núñez in the sense of this is now 2 games in a row where he's had a real impact. You see, he comes on against Chelsea, fighting for everything, linking well, winning fouls, getting us up the pitch. Did that in this one as well. Wasn't always pressing to win the ball, it's important to say, but his pressing was so important. And obviously a goal is great for his confidence as well. And no problem with him tapping that home. You think, I don't know, I think it's going to go in from Salah, but we'll see. We will see. Arsenal threats, ladies and gents. I mean, this is a tough one because any game at the Emirates is tough. But if you were going to say, when do you want to play Arsenal? A game when Saliba's out, Odegaard's out, ignore the Saka stuff. He's going to be playing, trust me. Anyone else? And Timber, I suspect he'll be playing as well. But if you were going to pick, it might be the time you'd pick. Some are going to argue the wounded animal approach. Who knows, really? But, I mean, you look at them in the league this season. They won 5, they drawn 2, they lost 1. Another red card would be nice in this one, wouldn't it? Red cards have played a part in this. It's not always been the easiest place for us to visit. If you think back to last season, we won the FA Cup, but we were pretty abject in the league, weren't we? That 3-1 defeat, I mean, it was kind of an own goal. Luis Diaz forced it, but the Allison Van Dijk era, it is a tough place to go, and it's a huge pitch as well. So that'll play a part in it. Threats. There is multiple threats. Trust me, Saka's going to play. He's a threat. Kai Havertz, I mean, he was almost belittled at the start of last season, but he is knocking in goals at the moment. He will be a threat to that. They are a dangerous team. They're also, it's important to say, in terms of threats, they are difficult to break down. I do really think this will be sort of a nip and tuck. And even with Saliba out, I still just get that feeling that it's going to be almost a wounded animal situation. It's interesting to see who they'll bring in at centre-back. Maybe Ben White tucks inside. Maybe Núñez will get the run on his fake tan. Who knows realistically? But this is not going to be an easy game, which brings me, ladies and gents, to the lineup in terms of how I think it'll go. I don't say some of this with confidence, but Kelleher in nets, and the back five. Robbo was rested, so I suspect he's going to come in. Trent. Now we got some bad news from James Pearce in terms of it's not massive, but he is managing a minor muscle strain, so that's something to keep an eye on. But he's going to start. It's got to be VVD and Canate in the middle, isn't it? There's no way you're breaking up those two, especially for a game like this. So I do think that back five picks itself. Gravenberch in midfield's going to start. So is Alexis McAllister. I could be wildly wrong on this, but I do just wonder, does Curtis Jones start in this one? I do just get a weird gut instinct that he's going to play. He didn't start against Leipzig in midweek, but Szoboszlai's been clocking up the minutes recently. Because if you think against Chelsea, it was McAllister that didn't play, and against Leipzig, it was Jones that was rested. So I just wonder if now it is going to be Szoboszlai that's rested. Jones is still, a brilliant pressing demon, covers yards and everything like that. It's a big pitch. Either way, one of them's coming on because you're going to need midfield legs to some tune. That's how it is. So I just get a gut that it's going to be Jones over Szoboszlai. But I could be wildly wrong. Forward line, I think some of this is straightforward. Salah came off. He's going to start anyway. Nunes came off against Leipzig as well. He's going to start. No doubts about that. The left-hand side. This really is a pick 'em for me, this left-hand side. And if you look at the game against Leipzig, the stats for Cody Gakpo were brilliant in terms of the carries that he made, the progressive passes. So both their progressive stats are brilliant. He's worked hard. He did well against Palace. He did well against Chelsea. Diaz, at the same time, is brilliant in these away games, isn't he? To sort of battle, get you up the pitch. And, he's got a decent record at the Emirates as well, hasn't he? He scored in the FA Cup game. You say he forced the own goal, if you want to call it that, last season. I really am swithering on this one. And it's almost harsh on whoever's left out. But I'm just thinking it'll be Diaz. Just that fresher element that way. And again, I don't say that with confidence. What I do say with confidence that if it is Diaz, Gakpo's a great person to bring on and vice versa. So that's what I'm thinking. So that's my lineup. Kelleher, Van Dijk, Canate, Trent, Robbo as the fullbacks, McAllister, Gravenberch and Curtis Jones, I think, in midfield. And a front three, Diaz, Nunes, Salah. That is how I think it will go. Would not surprise me at all, though, as we say, if Szoboszlai's in that midfield and Gakpo starts at all. They have their cases, no doubts about it. Prediction-wise, it's still a tough place to go. And I'd roll the dice on this one because I've done it on a few pods and we've spoken with Anfield Index regulars who said, would you shake hands on a draw? And there is a part of me thinking, the head's going, yeah, that's still a decent result at the Emirates. Don't get it twisted. You look at Arsenal, they are difficult to beat. They got a good result at the Etihad, didn't they, as well? Let's not undersell anything. But I still want to roll the dice and just see how it works out. And as much as I'm thinking like this is the best time possible to play them, my gut is telling me a 1-1 draw. My gut is telling me a 1-1 draw, Mo Salah to score. Yeah, difficult one though. Massive game, Super Sunday. It's right to be excited. The Reds are top of pretty much every league you care to mention. I know Villa are on goal difference, but it's been the perfect start in the Champions League. It's been a brilliant start in the Premier League so far. Fingers and everything crossed. Pray to every god. Avoid every crack. Don't break any mirrors. Do not go under any ladders at all. Super Sunday, 4:30. I've no doubt I'll speak to you before then, but enjoy the rest of your day, ladies and gents, whenever you are, wherever you are. That was another post-conference presser for Anfield Index.